Hey Internet, my name is Casey Lewis. I'm the host of the Casey Lewis podcast and the author of several books that you can find over on Amazon that talk about money, getting out of debt, careers, college, and all of that. So at the start of the new year, you may have set a goal for yourself to get out of debt. And one of the tempting things that happens is you'll receive offers in the mail for credit card consolidation. And it sounds really great on paper. You're going to get a 0% offer or a reduced rate offer so that you can consolidate your credit cards down and it will help you pay off your debt. But this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see when people are looking to pay down their consumer debts is that they consolidate it and 2 years later they're in more debt than they were when they started. And so here's what happens. I want to pull out my whiteboard. And what happens is you have a credit card here, so we'll just call this credit card number 1, and you get a $2,000 credit limit on that card. And let's say that that is a simple math 20% interest rate. And so you have this card, $2,000 balance or $2,000 credit limit. You max it out. It's got a 20% interest rate. So that means that you are paying 20% a year. So 10% of this is $200, 20% would be $400. So you're paying $400 a year in interest. And so the minimum payment on this card is probably somewhere around $50. Well, that's about what you're paying in interest. And so you never really get to make any progress on paying down the actual balance. And so maybe you have another card here and it's got a similar story, but it's a $5,000 one, and let's say it's at 30% interest because you're crazy, and that's just what it was. So you've got a 30% rate here, and so you have $7,000 of combined maxed out debt, and then maybe a credit card number 3 here, and it has $3,000, and it's at 10%. And so you've got $10,000 and various interest rate totals over here. So you'll get an offer in the mail that will allow you, or maybe you just sign up online somewhere and you get a new credit card, a 4th credit card that allows you, let's just assume that you get this full balance of $10,000 as a limit. And for an introductory period, maybe it's 6 months or maybe it's a year or maybe it's 2 years, you get a 0% rate, or a much lower rate. Well, that looks really good because here you're paying $400 a year on this one. On 5,000, 10% is 500, so you're paying $1,500 a year here, and you're paying $300 a year here. Well, if you could move all of this money, $1,500, $400, $300, so that's $2,200, you could move it here for 6 months. Well, you start knocking out these cards really, really quickly because you've consolidated them down to one card at a much lower rate. It's great in theory. It works very well on paper. But what actually will happen for many, many people that struggle, and most people that do credit card consolidation, end up in more debt. And what happens is you don't fix the spending issues that are causing you to have $2,000 maxed out card here, and a $5,000 maxed out card here, and a $3,000 maxed out card here. You don't fix those spending problems. So what happens is you wipe these debts out, and you no longer have these debts up here. They're all $0 balances, but you have a maxed out card down here at 0%. Now, 6 months go by, this rate changes to its regular rate, and so let's just say maybe it was a really good rate and it's 10%, and so now you're paying just $1,000 a year on your old debts. So these are all wiped out. You have $10,000 on this 4th credit card. At 10%, you're paying $1,000 a year of interest, but you didn't fix your spending issues. Maybe you have an income crisis, and you don't make enough money to cover just your daily basic essentials, so you need a credit card to put that money on. Well, this card's maxed out, but you have these accounts still open with money available on them because you paid them off with this card. So now you have access to another $2,000 here. You have access to another $5,000 here. You have access to another $3,000 here. You have access to another $5,000 here. You have access to another $3,000 here. You have access to another $5,000 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 here. You have access to And because you didn't fix your spending issues, you paid all of this off with this fourth card, taking out after the 0% introductory period, you didn't get it paid off. And so now you've got this, and you're back in the same position, but now with $20,000 worth of debt. And maybe your situation isn't as severe, but I see this common scenario happen over and over and over again. So debt consolidation, credit card consolidation can be a very good thing, because if we look, and before we take out that fourth card, we have these 3 cards, we pay $2,200 a year in interest. We slashed that in half by consolidating. But when you do that, you have to commit to close these accounts and no longer give yourself access to those debts. It will force you to fix the spending problems that are causing the debt issues in the first place. It will force you to go find a job that pays you more money. It will force you to stop eating out at restaurants. It will force you to pay attention to how much money you were spending on your car gas, or how much money you're spending on your cell phones, or how much money you spend on insurance. It will force you to pay attention when you cut yourself off from these old debts. Consolidation, good idea if you commit to closing these accounts. So if you want to get out of debt this year, if that's one of your goals, the first thing that you need to do is to save a small emergency account equal to 1 month of your guts. Your guts are your essentials, your groceries, utilities, transportation, and shelter. You save that amount, 1 month worth, into a savings account. For some families, that may be $1,000. For some families, that may be $3,500. Whatever it is, save that amount. Then commit to cutting up and closing out your credit card accounts. And if you want to use debt consolidation as a way to do that, awesome. Get a lower rate, get the best deal possible, but make sure that you commit to canceling your old accounts and closing them. Hey, if you want more information about paying off debt, buying a new car, selling your cars, buying real estate, or anything else to do with money, you can check out the Casey Lewis podcast. It's in iTunes or wherever your favorite iTunes or podcast provider is. You can also check out my blog at casey-lewis.com, or I'd love to hang out with you on Twitter at CaseyNLewis.